You know, I think it's very pirate core that this is made of all secondhand materials.
Yeah, so this wasn't supposed to be a pirate, but when you mix thrifting with your mom's Halloween decorations, you have no idea what spooktacular thing you'll come up with. Hi, I'm Blue, the cosplayer known as Blue Clarice, and I make a lot of things, but I also wear a lot of whimsical outfits. But today, we are going to be looking for treasure in my mom's Halloween decorations. As you can see, my mom has a lot of Halloween decorations. This is not even half, but we gotta start somewhere. I found a lot of really cool things, like these flowers. I think these are the things I'm most inspired by. While there was some fabric in the Halloween bins, there was not nearly enough to make a whole outfit, so we had to go to the thrift store. As some of you know, I literally go to the thrift store in like every single video I post. But I try not to get too distracted. I did see this jacket that had really cool buttons and I was kind of tempted to get it just to harvest the buttons. I also took a peek at the shoe section and found these boots that I thought I could reuse for some other cosplays as well. So I tossed them all in the cart. Are you even thrifting properly if you don't try on the clothes in the back of the store? I did try on some of the items just to see if they would kind of fit, but we're gonna try on what I actually got a little bit later. So let me show you everything I got from the thrift store and all of the Halloween decorations I chose. Not gonna lie, the price was not that bad considering the quality of all of the items. Right now, I'm thinking of an OG style look. OG is the princely version of Lolita fashion, and specifically, I am inspired by Patient from Identity 5. I just love his gothic outfit. I love the roses on his outfit and all of the details in the shorts, but I'm not entirely sure that's what we're gonna go for this time. I don't know, we're gonna put a pin on that, but we won't forget Patient because we're going to use him for another part of the cosplay. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I really need to try on these clothes to make sure that they fit. I just wanted to show y'all how this pirate hat is looking. I actually didn't find it with the Halloween decorations. It's something I bought from Renaissance Fair a long time ago and never wore it, so it needs a makeover. But here's how the thrifted clothes are looking. Yes, these pants are huge, but I want them to be really baggy, so we just gotta make the waist snatched. I kind of like the vest, but I hate the back, so I'm gonna either completely take it out or just make it fit to me. Before we start turning this into a pirate, we gotta take a break from all the spookiness and alter the pants. So I noticed that the pants were actually really well made. If you look right here, you can see that it has a Hong Kong finish, which is a luxury finish. And I'm gonna try to keep that when I make my alterations. I'm just going to cut the threads along the butt of the pants. For some reason, the pockets are really far apart, so it won't be too hard to take them in. To make some room for sewing the pants back together, and just for aesthetic reasons, I decided to cut off one of the belt loops. Before we sew, let's take a look at the inside. There's a lot of different interfacings and things to stiffen around the waistband, and this is something I don't often see in pants, but it was pretty inspiring, especially when I decided to make another pair of pants from scratch. Another thing about these pants is that they were way too short for me, but they actually have a lot of extra fabric on the ends, so I'm just gonna clip off their finishings. It kind of seems like they did it this way so it'd be easy for someone to extend them. The OGs know we baste before we machine sew just to hold everything in place because this is kind of a tricky area,
But once it's all sewn, this is how it looks. Honestly, I was surprised how well it fit me with just that small alteration, but we have to go back and fix up the seams. To prevent myself from redoing the Hong Kong seams, I'm just gonna clip off that tiny strip of fabric and we will resew it back on, but first we need to cut off all the excess fabric left over from taking in the pants. And of course, we can't forget one of the most important steps, pressing our seams. Now that everything's laying correctly, I'm just going to pin these strips of fabric back onto the edge of the seam just to cover it so there's no loose ends. And then we'll be done with the pants and ready to move on to the next part of my Halloween special.
One thing I've been trying to do with all of my latest creations is to make pieces that can be used time after time in different cosplays or fashion pieces, and I think these pants are a perfect contender for that. I mean, they're very quality made and they're black, simple. They can go in a lot of things, especially when I get more into OG. But I'm not so sure the same can be said about the vest. Let's just alter it real quick.
There's really not too much to say here. We're just taking in the vest at the lower back area just because my waist is a bit smaller than whoever this vest was originally made for. One thing I will say is it's a bit tricky because this vest is lined, so we have to take in both the lining and the outer fabric in equally. So that's a bit tricky, but after doing an invisible stitch around the bottom area, it's time to get back to the spook. This is where I lock in on the pirate. Yep, so I took my pirate hat and I had some leftover blue paint. It's like some shoe paint I had for another project. Oh, for my Infinity Nikki project. The paint worked decent enough. I ended up having to do about 2 coats just because the paint sucked into the like velvety texture of the hat. But I needed it to be blue because, you know, the back of the vest is blue and we gotta kind of match. Now I know, easy, right? But one thing I noticed is that around the edge of the hat, there was this gold and red, just like ribbon. And the thing is, my colors are blue and silver, so we have to cut this off. And what I didn't realize is that this also cuts off that little ruffly ribbon, which I was like, oh, dang. But it's okay because I needed something extra to put on top of that ribbon. So I decided to make my very own lace ruffle. After sewing for a long time in a straight line, I pulled the strings until everything was ruffled up nice together before I sewed in a straight line again, just to keep everything in place. Now we're not actually going to sew this lovely piece of ribbon to the hat. Instead, we're just going to glue it because, man, this hat is thick and I don't want to deal with that. So I just used a very strong glue that also dries clear, and I used these clips to hold everything in place while it dried. We finally are to the Halloween decorations. I just love these eyeball roses. They're so elegant but creepy. It's perfect. And this is where we have to bring back Patient. I want to do something that's kind of like his rose chest piece. So how we're going to do this is you need something stiff. This was part of some flower wrapping or something, and I used it for other projects. So it's just nice to keep strong paper type things like that on hand. Anyways, we're going to use our vest to make our pattern. You want to make sure that you cut a little bit around the V just so that it has room to kind of like hold on to the inside of your vest. Before I added some foam on top. Next, you take your flowers and chop off the stems because we want them to lay flat on the vest. And finally, it is time for us to use some hot glue. I don't often use hot glue in my projects anymore, but I'm starting to learn when you should use hot glue, when you should use a stronger glue. Glue is kind of tricky, but for this purpose, it works pretty well. Okay, give me a few moments and then you'll be able to see not only the flower chest piece, but the whole project. Before we get there, I wanted to add this little detail from some random old Halloween costume I found. I was having trouble getting the rhinestone off of it, so I tried a hammer, and when that didn't work, I soaked it in nail polish remover, and it worked.
It is almost time for the reveal, but I gotta talk about this wig first. And this is not sponsored at all. I truly do love Lumika. Lumika is a platform where you can sell secondhand cosplays at an affordable rate. I really love this messaging for the cosplay community because not only is this eco-friendly, but it's also trying to encourage cosplayers to spend less and for these cosplays to be reused instead of tossed in a landfill. And things like this are very important to me. I hope it's important to you. I actually got this wig from one of their pop-up shops. They do them from time to time. So I want to encourage everyone to support this amazing resource that we have and consider getting your cosplays secondhand. But without further ado, we have reached X marks the spot, and it's time for the reveal.
You know what? I think the pirate's life just might be for me. If you're watching this around Halloween, happy Halloween! I hope this put you in the spooky mood. And thanks so much for watching my video. Please like and comment. And if you enjoyed this one, make sure to check out my Dexter video where I make a fashion look inspired by none other than the Bay Harbor Butcher.
I thought that was a fish. Wait, it is a fish. Look, Joe. See how big it is? I don't know what kind of fish that was. Okay.